What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with my 2025 Emmy nominations reactions. We have the full field of Emmy nominees. Talk about who got nominated, who didn't, who came out on top from the network level, the acting level, etc. Of course, this is a reminder, this is the Emmy period from June 1st of last year, 2024, until May 31st of this year. So it's all those shows that are in the mix for the Emmys that'll be airing on September 14th. At the top, unsurprisingly, is HBO and Max with 142 nominations, which is actually their most ever. The previous high was back in 2019. And following HBO is, unsurprisingly again, Netflix with 121, Apple TV with 81, and then FX with only 35. Definitely a retracement for FX. Of course, think about last year, Shogun alone had 26 nominations. And then ABC is 34, rounding out the top 5. And if you do it from a conglomerate, company level, you have Warner Brothers Discovery, which is HBO Max. And then, if you count their other nominations, like Adult Swim, Discovery, Food Network, etc., they're at 170. And then Disney is at 137 with all of their networks. Then Netflix 121. So it's the big three if you do it at a company level, combining various things. Of course, how did we get there? Leading the way, series-wise, would be Severance Season 2 with 27 nominations, followed by The Penguin with 24, The Studio with 23, The White Lotus Season 3 with 23, The Last of Us Season 2 with 16, Andor Season 2 with 14, Hacks Season 4 with 14, Adolescence with 13, The Bear Season 3 with 13, and The Pit with 13. And as a reminder, we're talking about the last season of The Bear. That is this time around with the Emmys, not the season of The Bear that we just watched that just came out. That's just how The Bear has always been in terms of the calendar. I think if you look at those nominations, the studio actually ties the record for most nominations in 1 year for a comedy series, actually tying The Bear Season 2's haul from last year. Of course, that's 23. Going through Best Drama Series here, the shows nominated are Andor, The Diplomat, The Last of Us, Paradise, The Pit, Severance, Slow Horses, and The White Lotus. And the big surprise here, although it didn't come completely out of nowhere, but the big surprise is that Paradise on Hulu is in, and the show that it took the place of, so to speak, would be Squid Game Season 2, which is not nominated. Squid Game was actually completely blanked at the Emmys for Season 2. Season 3 will be eligible next year. Not sure if this is a particularly good sign for that season's prospects in a year's time. But yeah, Squid Game is out. Paradise is in. That also means that previous nominees in this field, The Handmaid's Tale, previous winner, Yellow Jackets, which got nominations for its first 2 seasons, The Morning Show, none of them are here. Your Friends and Neighbors, the big John Hamm comeback on Apple, is not here. My Beloved Industry is not here for Season 3. I wish it was. I also would have loved to see Pachinko Season 2 from Apple here, but I wasn't expecting that either. So yeah, overall pretty chalk, except for Paradise jumping in there. Best Actor in a Drama Series, you have Noah Wyle for The Pit, Adam Scott for Severance, Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us, Gary Oldman for Slow Horses, and Sterling K. Brown in for Paradise. Now, I had mentioned that when I talked about my predictions, because Sterling has been an Emmy darling. Of course, what does that mean? That means that Lee Jung-jae from Squid Game, previous winner of this category, is not here. Diego Luna, unfortunately, is not nominated for Andor. John Hamm, not here either. So yeah, a little bit of a surprise, just a little bit. I also, of course, always want to mention Anthony Starr from The Boys. I would love to see him nominated, but, not ever getting my hopes up there. Best Actress in a Drama Series, we have Kathy Bates for Matlock, Sharon Hogan for Bad Sisters, Britt Lauer for Severance, Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, and Kerry Russell for The Diplomat. That, of course, means no Elizabeth Moss, previous winner, Emmy darling that she is. Kathy Bates becoming the oldest nominee for Best Drama Actress at the Emmys at the age of 77. Network nomination at that, pretty surprising. Now, what does that mean? Who got, who didn't get through? This was a field that I wasn't, super convinced of at the top here. So I don't know if anyone's super surprising. No Melanie Linsky, no Keira Knightley for Black Doves, Emma D'Arcy for House of the Dragon, which I should know. House of the Dragon Season 2 did not get into Best Drama Series, which is disappointing to me. Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, you have Zach Cherry for Severance, Trammell Tillman for Severance, John Turturro for Severance, James Marsden for Paradise, probably the biggest surprise, and then from The White Lotus, Sam Rockwell, Walton Goggins, and Jason Isaacs. And this kind of continues the trend of only a few shows getting nominated in these categories. Remember how White Lotus season 2 got a bevy of nominations with the actors. No one really a surprise here. Patrick Schwarzenegger, I would have loved to see nominated over, say, Sam Rockwell personally. Patrick Ball from The Pit, I would have loved to see as Dr. Langdon. Of course, Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen from Andor would have been nice. Matt Smith, House of the Dragon. Overall, pretty good. Of course, again, if it was up to me, Ken Lung, Harry Lottie from Industry would be here, but that's where we're at. Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, you have Patricia Arquette from Severance, Carrie Coon, Parker Posey, Natasha Rothwell, and Amy Lou Wood for The White Lotus, Catherine Lanassa from The Pit, and Julianne Nicholson from Paradise. Paradise getting a lot of love here. I'm really happy about Catherine Lanassa, Nurse Dana from The Pit getting in there. Really nice. Patricia Arquette doesn't even have a whole lot to do in Severance. Really just speaks to the strength of that show. The most nominated series here has to be the favorite to win Best Drama Series, I would have to think, given how this has gone. In terms of anyone who's surprised, no one really surprising here. I mean, I guess you can look at like who did and didn't get picked, for the White Lotus. This time, no Michelle Monaghan, no Leslie Bibb, no Isabella Merced from The Last of Us, no Denise Gow from Andor, Olivia Cook from House of the Dragon. Of course, I would have loved Elizabeth Delau, Clea from Andor to be in here. No Allison Janney from The Diplomat. I guess that's a small surprise. Moving on to Best Comedy Series, we have Abbott Elementary, The Bear Season 3, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, Only Murders in the Building, Shrinking, The Studio, and What We Do in the Shadows. And that is largely very chalk. Happy to see What We Do in the Shadows get in there. That was, it's its final season, final chance here. Happy about that, I was wondering if maybe Netflix is the Four Seasons, which got some acting nominations. Wondering if Four Seasons would maybe knock out Shadows. Glad to see it didn't. That means no love for The English Teacher, The Rehearsal, Poker Face Season 2. But pretty strong nomination. Comedy's definitely in a lot better of a place in terms of the breadth of the field than it has been just a few years ago. Going on to the actors in comedy. Best Actor in a Comedy Series, you have Adam Brody for Nobody Wants This, Seth Rogen for The Studio, Jason Segel for Shrinking, Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building, and Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. Incredibly chalk here. I don't even know who you would have really expected to get through here. I mean, that means no Steve Martin for Only Murders, no Nathan Fielder for The Rehearsal, Brian Jordan Alvarez for English Teacher, Matt Berry for Shadows. I mean, this is kind of what we expected to see happen here. Best Actress in a Comedy Series, we have Jean Smart from Hacks, the previous winner, Io Debris for The Bear, previous winner, Keita Brunson for Abbott Elementary. Those three obviously were here. Kristen Bell for Nobody Wants This, newcomer, new show. That makes a lot of sense. And then the surprise here is Uzo Aduba for The Residents, which has already actually been canceled. That nom comes, in the place, if you were to say so, for maybe Selena Gomez in Only Murders, or Natasha Lyonne for Poker Face, Tina Fey, Four Seasons, but a solid field once again. Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, you have Ike Barinholtz for The Studio, Coleman Domingo for The Four Seasons, Harrison Ford for Shrinking, which is Harrison Ford's first Emmy nomination in any category, very cool. Jeff Hiller for Somebody Somewhere, Evan Moss Backrath, the previous two-time winner for The Bear, Michael Urie from Shrinking, and Bowen Yang for SNL. And I guess the big thing here is Tyler James Williams no longer nominated for Abbott Elementary. No Paul W. Downs for Hacks this time around. No Brett Goldstein for Shrinking. No Tim Simons for Nobody Wants This. No Lionel Boyce for The Bear. In general, The Bear, just less nominations this time around. Season 3 was the least liked of the four Bear seasons that we've got, and you're seeing that play out with the Emmys, which is, I guess, a good thing, right? You want it not to just be a blind, set of, we like this show in the past, we'll keep nominating it. I mean, you've really seen that, right? With shows completely fall off the radar, like Handmaid's Tale and Yellow Jackets. Shows really slow down, like The Bear temporarily at least did with season 3. Squid Game again, falling off the radar. So I think it's good that that's the way it's going this year. Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, Liza Colin-Zayas still here for The Bear, last year's winner. Hannah Einbinder for Hacks. Katherine Hahn for The Studio. Catherine O'Hara for The Studio. Janelle James and Cheryl Lee Ralph for Abbott Elementary. And Jessica Williams for Shrinking. So I think Han being here, in addition to O'Hara, shows the strength of the studio. Again, the most nominated comedy series. Yeah, other than that, nothing too surprising. Nice newcomer nom for Jessica Williams. Moving on to Best Limited or Anthology Series, you have Adolescence, Black Mirror, Dying for Sex, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, and The Penguin. Looking at that, the only one that I think is, I don't want to say it's a surprise, but something that I had thought probably would happen would be Presumed Innocent from Apple this year. Got some acting nominations, but not a series nomination for it. Disclaimer, did not in fact get nominated after all, which makes sense given its reception. Also, no love for Dope Thief Zero Day. I think the big miss here would be FX's Say Nothing, which got, I think, was a writing nomination only. But yeah, I think if anything, limited series, looking at Adolescence and seeing it as it's the most nominated limited series, but only like sixth or seventh most nominated show. I was expecting a bit of a stronger performance from it, relatively speaking. Obviously, it's still, I think, the favorite to win most categories it's in the limited series field. Best Actor in a Limited Series, you have Colin Farrell for The Penguin, Stephen Graham for Adolescence, Jake Gyllenhaal for Presumed Innocent, Brian Tyree Henry for Dope Thief, and Cooper Cock for Monsters, the Menendez story. Looking at that, and you expand this to the supporting actor field as well. No nominations for any of the Mountainhead actors. I was really hoping Corey Michael Smith would get a nomination here. Frankly, Aaron Pierre for Rebel Ridge would have been nice, but largely, chalk here. Best Actress in the Limited Series, you have Cate Blanchett for Disclaimer, so still getting a nomination for the show, even though Disclaimer didn't get a series nom, just like the Presumed Innocent folks. Megan Fahey for Sirens, Rashida Jones for Black Mirror, Kristen Milioti for The Penguin, and Michelle Williams for Dying for Sex. That means Renee Zellweger not nominated for Bridget Jones. Lola Pettigrew not nominated for Say Nothing. The rest makes a lot of sense. You have to figure that Farrell and Graham will be a nice heavyweight fight. I would assume Farrell comes out on top, given the Penguin's still very strong with its nominations here. Milioti also, I think, the clear favorite in her field. Supporting Actors in Limited Series, you have Aaron Doherty for Adolescence, Ruth Negga for Presumed Innocent, Deirdre O'Connell for The Penguin, Chloe Sevigny for Monsters, Jenny Slate for Dying for Sex, and Christine Tremarco for Adolescence. Two nominations in this category for Adolescence still speaks to that strength. Overall, that's a largely chalk field as well. The only one, I guess, that really makes you could have figured for was Leslie Manville for Disclaimer, a dual nomination for Milioti via Black Mirror, more or less what we expect. And then supporting actor in limited series, you have Javier Bardem for Monsters, Bill Camp for Presumed Innocent, Peter Sarsgaard for Presumed Innocent, Rob Delaney for Dying for Sex, Ashley Walters for Adolescence, and Owen Cooper for Adolescence, which makes Owen the youngest nominee ever in this field at only 15 years old. He is the favorite to win as well, which of course would make him the youngest winner ever. Pretty impressive. Adolescence still looking strong, though just not quite as strong when you compare it up to, say, Severance and The Penguin this year. So yeah, I think like most years at this point, we're saying that the Emmys are doing a pretty good job. They're not nominating anything bad. There's nothing really egregious, especially with the morning show no longer being recognized. The only quibbles that we continue to have is that some shows kind of over-indexed on, such as The White Lotus, where it's like we don't need to nominate 2/3 of the show's entire cast. We could spread the love a little bit more, given how much good TV is still on today. But yeah, overall, pretty good show here once again. You'd have to imagine that, come think of it, I guess The Penguin versus Adolescence might be more of an Emmy battle than we initially anticipated. I mean, it seems pretty clear that Severance is going to run through drama unless The Pit has something to say about that, and the studio is the clear comedy favorite with a down year from The Bear. So I think Adolescence versus The Penguin might be the most intrigue of any of the big awards. We'll see. Let me know, though, who are you most excited about seeing nominated? What show are you pulling for? What was your biggest snub? Let me know. And for more awards talk, awards predictions, including reacting to these Emmys and giving my official predictions right before they come out, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.